Do you think it makes sense to do predictions like further, like 35, 40, or it's like complete speculation? We don't even have like data to make reasonable prediction.
I think you can make some predictions. You have to be careful. Right now we live in a very specific regime in which we see this constant growth in the scale of the AI models, and like somewhat predictive, there's still surprising growth in the capabilities of AI models. And I do think that it's not easy, but this is what we do at Epoch. I do think that you can be more informed about what's going to happen by drawing this line farther and see where it takes you. But by the end of the decade, things start getting a bit funky. Why? One of them is because the scale just gets so massive. Right now, the scale of the amount of money that's being spent on the larger infrastructures around AI, like the Memphis XAI cluster, is in the order of tens of billions of dollars, which is a lot, but it's not that large in the context of the whole economy, in the context, for example, the US 30 trillion a year GDP. But if you keep growing the amount of expenditure, doubling it every year, which is roughly what we see right now, is doubling.
Expenditure on building data centers?
Yeah, on hardware, that's right.
On hardware, like producing chips or data centers?
Mainly, the main expenditure for the data centers are the chips. Though in general, I do think you can spend all expenses to grow like 2-3x per year.
2-3x per year.
That's right.
Building more data centers.
Yeah, building larger data centers. The thing here is, if you keep growing it this way, then by the end of the decade, this is gonna reach trillions of dollars. And now it's like, well, if you want to keep growing that further, like you already need AI that's having a very significant economic effect. You cannot justify investing on the order of tens of trillions of dollars without a very compelling economic case for artificial intelligence. I do think that AI can potentially get there, but there's a very important business model problem to be solved here, and investor convincing work that needs to happen in order to amass that amount of money. I do think that this is one of the reasons why we are going to see, we have this uncertainty, right? Like we have this forking path. There is the world in which like AI lives up to its promise, and it just starts like, this has to be already revolutionizing a lot of the economy in order to justify an investment of tens of trillions of dollars. And I will argue that you need to have an expectation of revenue in the trillions of dollars. You have an expectation of revenue in the trillions of dollars, that's already something you can measure in GDP per year.
If by the end of this decade, big tech companies who develop frontier AI models will not generate trillions of dollars revenue, then basically government investors, they will reconsider the path.
I think they will be hesitant to commit more money into this or to grow it even more, and this might slow down the scaling of AI. Another reason why we might expect the scaling of AI to slow down after the end of the decade is just the scale of these things is massive, right? Again, if you're building a 10 billion data center, that's already a massive challenge that requires months to years. By the end of the decade, like if the trend keeps growing in that direction, then we're potentially going to be reaching the trillions of dollars of overnight costs for AI infrastructure, and from there, if you want to keep the same trend, this very crazy trend where expenditures double every year, then like you start getting to the tens of trillions of dollars, and suddenly it's like, oh God, this is like 10% of the world economy that you're going to be putting into artificial intelligence infrastructure, which is a lot of commitment, and you really need to be convinced that artificial intelligence has the potential to transform your economy to justify that. And not only that, but also it's just genuinely very hard to build like infrastructure at that scale. It's naturally going to take us longer to build at that scale, just because coordinating all of that influx of money, coordinating all the workers that need to be put to work to build the data centers, to all the production of GPUs that need to happen. There's a lot of moving pieces that you need to address to pull this off, and this requires time.